What's going on, everybody? My name's Chris. Welcome back to Bourbon Sane. This is probably the question I get the most out of any other question on social media. What are the budget bourbons that I could walk into any liquor store across America and pick up today? No searching, no hunting. Any store, whether it be a Walmart, Meijer, or hole-in-the-wall liquor store, I'll be able to find this budget option, and it's going to be available and it's going to be delicious. So that's what we're going to be exploring today. Originally, I wanted this just to be a top 5 video, but as I started putting my bottles together, I realized, holy crap, I can't make this just 5. It has to be 7 or maybe even 10. But I'm going to shoot for 7. We'll see how that goes. And of course, we're talking about distribution all over the country. So 98% of the country, I think, is going to be able to get any of these bottles that I'm going to talk about today. So before we go any further, do me a favor, like this video. I'm going to run a little YouTube experiment to see something here. So like this video, leave me a comment down below, let me know what is your #1 budget available bourbon that you can pick up anytime, and what is it that you would recommend for a new bourbon drinker if you told them to go to any liquor store and pick it up today. So let's go right into this one. We got a couple rules for today. First rule, as mentioned, this has to be an available bottle. So virtually anywhere in the country, 95% or higher of, I guess, markets in the country should be able to get this bottle. With pricing the way it is today, I decided on a $35 price point in Michigan. And again, as if you've watched any of my other videos, you know Michigan is kind of high as far as pricing goes. So I think 35 and below is good because that means that majority of the country is going to be able to get this at $30 or below. And as we talk about the bottles, a lot of them are going to be lower than that. So not a huge thing. And then third of all, it has to be a high quality whiskey for the price you're getting. Now, I always talk about like a 2-to-1 bottle ratio with these. I like to have the bottle drink twice as good as the price. Now, that's not going to be the case with everything, but some of these super affordable bottles, I think we could definitely hit that number. So, without further ado, let's start with number 7 today. Okay, well, these bottles aren't going to be in any particular order per se. Maybe with the top 3, we'll go to some of my favorite bottles out there and we'll put those in order, but for the most part, just going to be my top 7. So, coming in with our number 7 today is Early Times Bottled in Bond. Now, this is a liter bottle and about $20 to $30. I've had some markets even tell me they can get this under $20, which is insane. Previous to 2020, this was a Brown-Forman distillate product, and 2020 on, they sold it to the Sazerac company. So most likely the bourbon in this bottle is now 1792 distillate. And honestly, the quality is not as good when it was Brown-Forman, because those bottles were just wonderful. Loved them. But for the price you're getting here, still between $20 and $30 for a liter bottle in almost every single market, and it's something you can actually find, you really can't beat the value for this. You can't. 100 proof, bottled in bond, meaning it's at least 4 years. So hard to say exact age. It's probably just right around that 4-year age, honestly. Maybe a year more or so more. But I think for the value you get on this bottle, the flavor profile that comes through, that slight nuttiness you'll get, I just love it. Coming in at number 6 today is in fact a Brown-Forman product, as discussed with number 7. And this is probably one of the best budget bourbons at right around $30 in nearly every market. Old Forester 100 proof. This bottle I still can find everywhere, and the flavor profile that comes through is still wonderful. It really is. I love it a lot. Brown-Forman, Old Forester specifically, really gives me a nice creamy chocolatey note, and almost a cherry chocolate. When we get into things like our older expressions, like our 1920s, that's when I get that heavy, almost chocolate-covered cherry flavor that comes through. But even at a budget option, 100 proof, you can use as a mixer or just drink neat. I drink Old Forester 100 neat all the time, and it holds up very, very well for that. It's not super old. You know, again, we're talking budget bourbons today, so it's probably about the 4-year age. But I think for the value you get, and it just drinks so smooth. I know I don't like to use that word smooth, but with some bourbons, when you get those kind of chocolatey, sweet oak creaminess, which I think the Old Forester 100 has for its age, that's kind of what I think in my mind of smooth, at least. Versus the word smooth, I suppose I would go with well-rounded. There's no sharp edges on this bourbon, and it's super, super easy to sip. Coming in at number 5 is a Buffalo Trace product, I know. And it's actually Buffalo Trace bourbon. I might hear from all of you that this bottle is hard to find still in a lot of markets. I'm including this because here I can walk into nearly every store around me and get a bottle if I wanted to. So I can't speak to distribution in the whole country, but for me, if you want a classic bourbon, this is it. if you want to introduce somebody to bourbon, what bourbon should taste like, Buffalo Trace has the most approachable, sweet oak, sweet cherry flavor profile that it agrees with almost everybody's palate. It really does. Love them or hate them, as far as Buffalo Trace's distribution goes, they do make good bourbon. They really do. Especially when we're talking some of their older expressions like the B-Tax or even their wheated mash bill stuff. I mean, Weller's impossible to find, but I'll tell you what, I do love it. It's my favorite wheater that is out there, probably. For the basic wheaters, at least, that you can actually somewhat be attainable and findable. So, introductory bourbon, for anyone new to bourbon, this is what I'll always reach for first. I give them all those classic baking spice notes, but this is almost like a sugary bourbon. It's so sugary sweet. Candied cherries. You know, think of maraschino cherries. That's what I always get out of this bottle. And honestly, for the price, still at about $30, even for the store picks, they're about that same price here in Michigan. It's a pickup. Coming in at number 4 today, I couldn't leave off a bourbon that was pushing foolproof or is foolproof. And honestly, I was so torn between these two bottles. I'm going to pull them both to the table because I really couldn't decide. I always talk about this one, Old Granddad 114, the other one being Benchmark Foolproof. Now, the reason I didn't just go Benchmark Foolproof for this is because this just hit Michigan, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 months ago now. So I can't speak to distribution if it's all over the country or not. I know Old Granddad 114 is all over the country still and wonderful. I love them. I love them both. I really do. Does this foolproof live up to some of the Stag Junior picks? I did a video of that recently. No, it doesn't. But this is like a $24 bottle. $24 for a foolproof. Can you think of another barrel proof or barrel strength bourbon out there that you can get under $30 that is as good as the foolproof? Or the 114 for that matter. I can't. Foolproof is a Buffalo Trace product, so all those classic notes I was just talking about with the previous pick with Buffalo Trace bourbon, that cherry sweetness, but this is a lot more almost brown sugar forward I get all the time. But such high proof, you can use it in cocktails, and being only a $25 bottle, that's wonderful. The 114, this is my cocktail bourbon. It is. 114 proof, high rye mash bill coming out of Jim Beam. If you want a cocktail bourbon, this is it. And it's good enough to drink on its own. I'll quite often sit on the porch, throw a huge piece of ice in my rocks glass, and just throw 114 in there. It cools you off nice, great flavor profile on both of these, and I couldn't leave off some high proof stuff for this list. Coming in at number 3 today is one of my favorite bottles, honestly, and this is a great introduction into some aged bourbon, still about that $30 price point. Knob Creek 9-year 100 proof. Let's talk about that Jim Beam Knob Creek nuttiness, where it's almost like a roasted peanut, but adding that 9-year age statement, or at least 9 years plus, it adds such a nice creamy oak layer to that bourbon. It's no Knob Creek 12-year. It's no Knob Creek 15-year. It doesn't have that. The proof, though, is still respectable. So given being 100 proof, it still gives you a good mouthfeel, good finish, and honestly, that sweet oak that does come through in that bottle, along with that nuttiness, it's almost like a candy-coated almond or candy-coated peanut that comes through. And I love that. A chocolatey candy-coated peanut, if you think about that. That's always good. I do love the 9-year age statement, and the only issue with me here in Michigan is this is starting to creep up in price a little bit from over the last 5 years. Most markets are still going to be $30 or under. That's why I included it. I think my state minimum here is $35. And some stores have it right there at state minimum, but I've seen some even pushing $40 on this bottle. So that's what I don't like, but I do understand having that 9-year age statement. But if it was me for the money, I would rather personally spend an extra $20, $15 to $20, and get the Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve. Specifically the store picks, which are about $50 to $60. Man, especially if you can find an old one, 12-year plus, that's where the money is at. But you know what? For $30, 9 years, 100 proof, I'll take Knob Creek 9 all day. Coming in at number 2, this is my favorite distillery, and I'm sure a lot of you have a guess already what this bottle's going to be. Wild Turkey 101. Love to put the 101 8-year in here, but too expensive. So this still is $26 here in Michigan, and honestly, this is my daily sipper. If I want just a base, entry-level, not too expensive budget bourbon option for my daily sipper, I'm drinking this. Otherwise, I'll move to a Russell's Reserve pick or a rare breed. Typically, will be my other daily sippers that I love, because if I want to think about my bourbon a little bit, this is just something I can drink hot day, cold day, cocktail, on its own. Put it in with whatever you want. It always holds up. Always really, really good. Really good for that flavor profile. For those of you that haven't had the Wild Turkey 101, this was my college, slamming the 101. I would get this. I didn't know anything about bourbon at the time. I would just drink it to get drunk. And it worked. It did work. And you see that 101 proof and you're like, holy crap, that's super hot compared to the 40% stuff you were used to drinking or whatnot, the Basil Haydens, if you want to feel fancy. But this is so much more than that. So much more than just a college drink. It really does give you incredible flavor profile for what's in the bottle. It's almost like a cinnamon almond, a cinnamon roasted red hot is what I get in this bottle quite often. And no, the depth and the age isn't quite there like the 8-year has a little more of, or like the rare breed will have. But if you want an introductory bourbon to Wild Turkey, my favorite distillery, there's no better bottle on the market for you. Coming in at number 1 today, if you haven't yet, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know out of the comments, what bottle am I going to be pulling out here in 5 seconds? Evan Williams, Bottled in Bond. No surprise here for those of us that know bourbon, know whiskey. This is the absolute sweet spot of the Heaven Hill lineup for affordability. Between $20 and $30 in every single market. I've never seen this get above $30 local to me. And this has that Heaven Hill nuttiness. I'm making this list today, I realized I like a lot of nutty bourbons. We talked about the Knob Creek, that Wild Turkey. Even the early times has that nuttiness as well. And then the Heaven Hill Evan Williams Bottled in Bond definitely has a nuttiness as well. This is a little bit more of like a dry roasted peanut for me than like a salted peanut. But it's always really good. Really, really good. 100 proof Bottled in Bond, so 4 years. They used to have a 6-year label of this that was about $19. Okay. Pardon me. Obviously, this is the Heaven Hill label, so not the Evan Williams label. But this, tell me, have any of you had this? I still have 1 bottle left and I can't drink it because I can't bring myself to to do it. This was the Heaven Hill Bottled in Bond 6-year, and whew, this stuff was so good. So good, and that nuttiness was so clear there. I mean, even more than that Evan Williams Bottled in Bond. And for the price, you couldn't beat it. Of course, they raised it up to $40, $45 and put a 7-year age statement on it instead now for this. So that's why it wasn't on my list today for that. But the Evan Williams Bottled in Bond, I mean, I don't know what more you can say about it. It has every flavor profile you want for a bourbon. If you're introducing anybody new to whiskey, new to bourbon in general, this is the bottle I will reach for. I've said that about a few of these today. Usually when people leave my house the first time, they've had quite a bit to drink. So, because I can't usually pick just 1 bottle for them. So, but let me know if you guys had either of these bottles. I want to know about this 6-year. Have you guys had this Heaven Hill 6-year? And how do you think it compares to the 7? I think the 7, honestly, was a pretty good changeover, except for the $25 price jump. That's the biggest issue. So, man, oh man, it was hard to limit this to just 7 bottles. I had my original list of about 15, and I had to narrow it down to 10 and then to 7 or 8. So let me know, though, what did I miss? What are some bottles you would have included that I didn't include? And what is your favorite? If you had to pick just one budget bourbon option between $20 and $30, what would it be? And something you can walk in and grab all the time. I can't pick a favorite out of all these. I put the Evan Williams Bottled in Bond first, but these are all pretty much interchangeable for me as far as budget options. So I want to hear your thoughts, though. Please do let me know what your favorite is. If you haven't yet, please do check out my Patreon page. A lot of exclusive behind-the-scenes content back there. You can see early access videos, vote on things for the channel, and see what's coming up next. I got a lot of plans with the channel coming, and it's a lot of fun over there on Patreon with the rest of them. So I appreciate y'all being here, watching the video, and supporting the channel. It really does mean the world to me, and I'll see you next time. Stay insane.